Hello, my little technocrats. Today we are going to learn about generations of computers. Now, as you know, human beings they have evolved over various generations. We started from apes, and now we have got the modern man, Homo sapiens. Similarly, computers have also gone through a lot of change. Now, today you can see that your laptop or your desktop is a very sleek device and very light and very convenient device. And even your mobile phone or your tablet is a computer now, which is so tiny, so handy, and it can do so many things at the same time. But this was not always the case. Computers, you would be surprised to know, and we will be learning it today, that the first computer was as big as a complete room. There used to be a massive room that was needed to house a computer. This is how big the computers used to be. So today we will be learning about evolution of computer over the various generations, from first generation of computers till fifth generation of computers. So let's start. The computers that we see today have been developed part by many scientists. In fact, the history of computer comprises a gradual development from simple abacus to the electronic computers which we use today. So what is an abacus? Let's see that first. See, this is how an abacus looks. It is a simple calculation device, and we started from over here, and today we have got modern computers or modern calculators which are advanced devices which are used today. Now this photo that you are looking at, this is known as the father of modern day computer. This man's name is Charles Babbage. He was the one who invented the first modern day computer. In 1837, Charles Babbage, a British scientist, made the first computer. It was a mechanical computer which could do very large calculations. Since then, many people have contributed to the improvement of computers. The history of computer is often referred to as different generations of computers, and with every generation of computers, there was a major development in the technology. Now, the computer that the Charles Babbage had developed, it was a mechanical computer. See, it looked like something like this. So how I told you, it used to take up an entire room. Now this is actually just one computer. Look at this. So many machineries are there and such a big device it is. And compare it with your today's laptop. Today's laptop is so tiny. As a result, computers become smaller, cheaper, more powerful, and more efficient. So far, we know about 5 generations of computers. So let's start with first generation computers. The first generation computers were in use between 1940 and 1956. Scientists used vacuum tubes as processors in them. Now today we have got silicon processors and processor chips in a computer, but earlier in the first computers there used to be vacuum tubes. They were so big that they occupied an entire room. Some features of the first generation computers, they are listed below. The speed was quite low and electricity consumption was very high. Inputs in such computers were in the form of punch cards and paper tapes. Now I'll show you a punch card in a little while. Their programming capacity was very low. They could not store much data. Like today our computer can store terabytes of data. At that time the data capacity was very low. They were huge in size and were very expensive. Only government or big institutions had the computers, not private people didn't have such computers. So these are the vacuum tubes, and like I showed you, this used to be the first generation computer. There used to be various first generation computers. In that, the most famous one was ENIAC. Now this is an example of ENIAC. Okay, and I told you that I'll show you a punch card. Now a punch card is a rectangular piece of cardboard in which information is represented by the presence or absence of holes punched in it. Let's see. So see, this is your punch card. This that you are seeing is a punch card. Now how information was stored in a punch card? That whatever information you wanted to feed to the computer, you would let it remain, and whichever information you didn't want the computer to read, you would punch it. See, here you can see 1 2 3 4 5 6 zeros are there, then this is blank, then again 0, then blank. Like this information was stored. So whatever you want the computer to read, computer would read it on the basis of blanks and the information that were available on the card. So this is a punch card. Now some examples of first generation computers were EDVAC, Mark I, ENIAC, EDSAC, and UNIVAC. Let's quickly go through them. Now, EDVAC. EDVAC stands for Electronic Discrete Variable Automatic Computer. Its inventor was John Presper Eckert and John W. Mauchly. It was invented in the year 1994. The features of EDVAC were it weighed approximately 8,000 kilograms. Now today, the laptop that you're using to watch this video must be weighing not more than 4 or 5 kilos. This used to weigh 8,000 kilograms and it stores both programs and data. And first electronic computer to use binary system. Now what is binary system? We will learn it in detail in our next chapter. But a computer does not understand characters or words or any other language. A computer only understands 1 and 0. Number 1 and number 0. Number 0 means it is off. Number 1, that means it is on. So every command that we give to computer is given in ones and zeros, which is known as binary. Then Mark 1. This computer, it was also a first generation computer. It was invented by Howard H. Aiken. It was invented in the year 1944, same as EDVAC. It was first fully automatic calculator. It was slow in performing calculations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Then comes ENIAC, the one that I showed you. ENIAC stands for Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer. See, this is how an ENIAC looks. This is an ENIAC. So, it was invented by John Presper Eckert and John W. Mauchly. It was invented in 1946. It weighed more than 27,000 kilograms. Imagine having such a computer in your room. And it was the first programmable general purpose electronic digital computer. That means you could program it to do whatever task you wanted it to do. Program means that you can give any command, you can give any instruction to the computer to calculate or do whatever you want them to do. For example, if you want to write a letter, you would type a command on your Microsoft Word and the computer will write the letter for you. It was capable of solving a wide range of numerical problems, and it had no stored programs. That means like we have apps and programs today, that time it had no stored programs. Then comes EDSAC. EDSAC stands for Electronic Delay Storage Automatic Calculator. It was invented by Professor M. Wilkes and it was invented in the year 1949. It weighed approximately 6,000 kilograms and it was the first full-size stored program computer. That means some programs were already stored on this program. For example, right now you will have certain apps or certain programs in your computer, like Windows is a software, it has Microsoft Word, it has Microsoft PowerPoint, it has your browser Chrome. Like this, there are some programs which are already installed in your computer. So this started with EDSAC. Then comes UNIVAC 1. UNIVAC 1 stands for Universal Automatic Computer 1. It was again invented by John Presper Eckert and John W. Mauchly. It was invented in 1951 and it weighed approximately 13,000 kilograms. It was the second commercially available electronic computer. That means anybody could buy this computer, but because it was so heavy and so expensive and so big, usually universities, college, schools, institutions and government, only these people use this computer. And some factories also and some companies also. It handled both numbers and alphabetic characters properly. Now, let's move on to the second generation computers. Now, let me first show you one of the second generation computer. Now see, this is an example of a second generation computer invented by IBM. IBM stands for International Business Machine. They have invented one second generation computer that was there. Now, in the second generation computer started in 1956 and it lasted till 1963. In the second generation computers, transistors were used as processors instead of vacuum tubes. I will explain you about transistors in detail in a little bit, and I'll show you also a transistor. Transistors were far superior to vacuum tubes, allowing computers to become smaller, faster and cheaper. Now, as we have seen, in the first generation computers, to send the data or to process the data, the scientists used to use vacuum tubes. Now vacuum tubes were heavy and expensive and large. So transistors instead, when we started using transistor to process the computers, it helped them to become smaller, faster and cheaper. These computers were smaller in size and were in use between 1956 and 1963. See, this is again another example of a second generation computer. Both first and second generation computers use punch cards. Even the second generation computers, they use punch card as input and printout as output. IBM 701, 704 and IBM 1401 are examples of second generation computer. So this is IBM 1620. This is also an example of second generation computer. Some features of the second generation computers are listed below. They were more energy efficient and reliable than the first generation computers. Their operating speed was comparatively higher than the first generation computers, and high level programming language like COBOL and BASIC were developed in this generation. Now, right now you might not know about COBOL and BASIC. We will teach you about that later. But COBOL and BASIC are programming language. What is a programming language? It is a language through which you give a command to a computer. So these two languages were developed during the second generation. Now, a transistor is an electronic device that is used to control the flow of electricity in electronic equipment. Let me show you a transistor. See, this is how a transistor looks. Now, what a transistor does is that all the electricity in all the parts of the computer or any other electronic device, like for example, this is a radio transistor, radio to circuit board. Any electricity is flowing through this device. So you can see that earlier there used to use such big rooms or such big tubes and everything and all that. Now that became very compressed, and only with this much device you could share the information. All right. So with this, we have covered first and second generation of computer. Now, in our next video, we will talk about third, fourth, and fifth generations of computer.